In this episode of Coaching Coach, episode number 25, I want to review why your first injury may be causing the rest of them. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I don't know if I've covered this on the show, but my degree is in sports medicine. So, what that means from me is that I tend to see things differently. I tend to look and can kind of, as some people would call it in finance, I kind of play the long. Like, how is this exercise selection? How is this exercise modality going to be helpful to you down the line? And I think this is super important for people who have had one injury before, because a lot of times what they do is they come back and they say, yeah, well, I've sprained this ankle. Well, how many times have you sprained that ankle? Oh, a bunch of times. And the rest of the body is fine? You got no other injuries? Oh, no, that whole side of the body is screwed up. And so we have two problems here. One, the fact that you've sprained that ankle multiple times, and we can't do anything about that. The second is that the rest of your body is now a shit show. So I think what I want to introduce you today is this concept of treating the body and the injury more globally. So, for instance, let's say you have sprained that left ankle. So if you've sprained that left ankle, let's say you had to be on crutches for a week, and it was a bad sprain. But you sprained that left ankle for a week. You were in some sort of immobilizer and you were on crutches. So you didn't need surgery though. So let's just take this a step further. You're going to be using, let's say it's your left ankle. Now on the next week, you're on crutches. Your right side is now taking, so right ankle, right knee, right hip is now taking a lot more pressure, a lot more stress, a lot more load. Let's just call it 60%. It might be more, who knows. But for all intents and purposes, this is where things get a little bit crazy, right? So now this is my left side is the one that is weaker and just got strained, and I now have a lack of stability on that left side. So let's say this happens and this happens in high school, okay? In order to get back to playing sports, I have to feel comfortable enough on this left side that I can perform at the sport level. So the physical therapist, athletic trainer, doctor is going to only look at that left side to say, hey, let's make sure we get this strong enough so you can return to play. Problem with that, okay? This side may be strong enough, but this side may be taking a little bit more load. In addition, maybe we sprained that ankle, but we forgot to look up the chain, and the knee and the hip are now bothered. And maybe not a lot, but because you're so excited to be returning to play, but we're overlooking the fact that the knee and the hip now have a slight imbalance because the right side was shifted, and now your pelvis sits like this, and then 6 months later you have IT band friction syndrome on the right side, and you're like, why is my right hip bothering me? This doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, it makes all the sense in the world because you're compensatory patterns. And I'm not throwing around big words for any other reason other than that's the first thing that comes to mind. But what I wanted you guys to understand is if you had an injury before, you are going to be more likely to have A, that same injury again, B, more likely to need to revisit the therapy of that injury, which got you back to, let's call it 90% before you return to play. You're going to need to revisit the cause of that injury and how all that stuff before you even get back to 110%, right? So if you return to play and you return to play at 90%, you might have done more damage then to that ankle. Meanwhile, you still have this massive imbalance between your right and left. And so 10 years later in your late 20s and you're wondering why your hip hurts, well, it's because you sprained your ankle in high school. And it sounds like so just like far off, but it's really not. And I see so many people come into the gym and, one of the first questions I ask is, what kind of injuries we're looking at here? Let's just rule that out. You can't get hurt here. And so oftentimes, I'm good. And we rarely see that instance. The only times that we really see people come in without any injuries is the people that didn't do sports in high school. The problem with that is that they may have a massive imbalance. Separate topic. But let's go back to the person who sprained that ankle. Now their right side is totally compensating for the left side. So now they have a higher likelihood of A, spraining the ankle on the other side, but also that knee and that hip could potentially, you can get patellofemoral syndrome, you can get IT band friction syndrome, you can get tendinosis, tendonitis, whatever you want to think about. But the problem is that we're not addressing the body globally, and that's what I want to pass on to you guys today as a thought process moving forward is looking at the body more globally, so that if you do get hurt, God forbid, obviously, but if you do get hurt, you can look and treat the body more right side versus left side, etc. But also like, let me also, while I'm at physical therapy, in between doing stim and ice, etc., and hopefully you're doing more than that at physical therapy, but while you're at physical therapy, doing some other exercises, asking the therapist, hey, what other exercises can I do to strengthen, if I hurt my elbow, what exercises can I do to strengthen my shoulder? What exercises can I do to strengthen my wrist? Because again, I think far too often we're just like, okay, I'll do whatever the physical therapist tells me. Well, no, understand that the physical therapist probably has between 3, 6, 12 others, okay? And with those 3, 6, 12 other people that are coming into that physical therapist office, he might not be 100% focused, so he or she. So while she may have the 100% best intentions, they probably have a lot on their mind, and managing the other people in the physical therapist office is one thing that you want to kind of put yourself first. So like, let me think about what I need and put myself as my best advocate. So that's it for this week's episode of Coaching Coach. I just really wanted you, if you had an injury in the past, I just want you to know it's never going to leave you. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but it's never going to leave you, because the body's going to compensate one way or the other. It's going to shift. It's just never going to leave you. So on the flip side, you can learn from it. I think one of the things that is a strength of mine as a professional is the fact that I've had multiple injuries, and so that I can relate to both the injury process, the physical therapy process, but also what I do as my warm-up tends to be a lot of physical therapy stuff. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. But think globally, and remember that the injury really never leaves you.